Hi, I'm Jason Sterling. I'm a member of the EA Creator Network, and today we're going to do a tour of the line, or the ferry line. I'm calling it kind of the ferry line. This is my take on Saudi Arabia's line city concept, sort of a linear city they're building out in the middle of the desert. Now, that's not their original concept necessarily. The idea of a linear city has been around for a very long time. However, building it in the middle of the desert and encasing it in mirrored exteriors, that's definitely new. That's a twist, you guys. That's a twist. So I thought, hey, why not do a little version of that in The Sims? And since we just got Enchanted by Nature, let's make it a sort of fairy version. Now, since this is a city, of course, there are multiple residences within it. There are 5 apartments within this particular structure. There are two-bedroom apartments geared towards families. We have 2 one-bedroom apartments geared towards, I guess, singles or a couple with a baby. And we have a studio that could be used for the same thing. It's smaller, of course, but, you could fit a couple in there and a baby if you want to, just like they do in New York or any large city. And also, since it is a city, we're going to have several public spaces. We've got some public park areas and some public sort of activity areas. So there's a cafe with a sort of gaming room or a hangout area above it. We have a jewelry store. We have a wine store or a nectar store. And we have a florist shop. These aren't really set up as true stores, although I suppose if you have for business, you could go through and convert them into actual stores. They're really just set up as public activity areas for Sims if you're going to use this as an apartment building using the for rent. I want to say disaster pack. If you want to risk it, if you want to take your life in your own hands. I am going to take my life in my own hands. In fact, I'm going to do a live stream using this build set up as apartments using the for rent pack to see exactly how well does that pack perform now. I mean, I used it when it first came out, but let's see how it performs now. So if you're using it for that function, these are just meant to be sort of public areas where your Sims could hang out and do various activities. I mean, I guess they could make wine, put it into their inventory and sell it at home, make jewelry and do the same thing. So stuff like that. You could also use these spaces in the same way if you were just using this as a sort of communal housing situation where you're going to have maybe a larger extended family of 8 Sims, or you're going to have maybe several smaller families you can bind together to make 8 Sims. With for rent, of course, we can have more than 8 Sims here technically on this lot. But if you wanted to do it that way as a communal house or a large Sim home, you could do that as well. And these would just be your sort of activity spaces. Now, going through this build, you'll see that there are, if you download it later, you'll see that there are some subtle changes from this tour, from the download. As I'm doing a tour, as I'm walking through it, as I'm recording the video to begin with, and as I'm editing it later, I always look at things and think, oh, I would like to change that before I upload it. One thing especially is there's a few places where ceiling tiles are not in place that I kind of think, well, maybe I should put some sort of ceiling decoration there. You don't really see the ceiling decoration much, but during video, when I'm doing a walkthrough, so we're doing it from a Sims perspective, I do, and I think, yeah, that'd be really nice. If someone's doing pictures or video, it might be nice to see something more than just a blank ceiling there. So that sort of thing will change. And also you may notice, I noticed, there's no apothecary table within this build. Even though I do add several active garden spaces to this build, including one that was sort of meant as a harvestable area for the apothecary table. I just forgot to put the table in any of the builds. So my idea, of course, is I'll put the apothecary table someplace where it's a surprise. I don't know. Will it be someplace public or in someone's private residence? I don't know. I haven't decided, but I will add that. So there's little things like that that will change along the way. Also, if you notice those garden spaces during the tour, yeah, there's some set up for the apothecary table, and then there's some set up for the florist table. And you could also use some of those flowers for the new flower pressing book. that came with Enchanted by Nature, and there's grapes, obviously. There's grapes growing, and I think strawberries. Why do I feel like we can make strawberry nectar? I think we can. So I planted a bunch of strawberries as well. So you have both grapes and strawberries growing here on the lot. If you want to, and you let them die or take them out and do something else with the space. But those sort of things are also here. Of still photographs at the end of a tour. This time I'm working those photographs through the tour as we go from place to place, just to keep it a little bit more easy to follow instead of putting all those pictures at the end, because again, like I said, there are 5 residences here. There are 4 separate activity areas if you don't count the gardening areas. So there's a lot of different spaces to kind of consider. So those still shots will come in with the actual walkthrough. Now, what will be at the end of this tour, instead of those still shots, is I'm going to do a kind of brief walkthrough of the neighborhood as a whole of Everdew that will kind of not highlight really, but we'll pass by the different builds that I've done, because I finished out this neighborhood now. This is the 5th build for this neighborhood of 5 lots. So it'll kind of show the different builds I did for this neighborhood in a sort of circular configuration. And with that, we're going to come to the end of my part of this video. I'm going to go ahead and, get ready and just kind of log off here. Although the video itself will continue with a sort of musical track to it. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify like always. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify like always. And be sure and tune in to see this lot in action as an apartment lot using for rent. I'll actually have it in the for rent world of Tomarang. It'll be there just in case kind of the bugs and stuff that are associated with this pack are maybe tied to the world itself instead of just the pack as a whole. So we're going to put it actually in that world to make sure that we're not missing something. Also with that live stream, I will be completely, I never use any custom content. I never put that on videos. I never put that on builds. I always forget. I just think it's kind of a given. If you use custom content, you need to specify it, and the default should be no custom content, right? So I never use custom content. I typically only use 2 mods, and it's the tool mod and the MC Command Center. Now, in this case, with this upcoming live stream, those will not be present. So it'll be completely free of mods and custom content. And so, because I don't want that interfering and maybe causing an issue, right? So we're going to test out this whole save file stuff with this particular build live. So you can see it, not edited. So if things go wrong, they're going to be right there where you can see them up front. And maybe if they do go wrong and I figure out a workaround, you'll be able to see that too. Maybe I won't. I usually don't. Usually I just kind of go off and cry and regret when something goes wrong in The Sims, but hopefully that won't be the case this time. We'll see. Anyway, until that time, please hit like, subscribe, and notify. And as always, thanks for watching.